Hello new and returning Dark and Darker players. As we get closer to an update regarding the release of early access for Dark and Darker, let's review some of the most recent updates and changes showcased by Ironmace in the month of July and August. I will break this video down into 3 sections. First, new things that were unveiled since July of 2023 in Dark and Darker. Second, changes and updates made to Dark and Darker showcased in the last month. And third, what the timeline is moving forward and what to expect from the month of August in early access. For those who don't want the details and just want a TLDR, here's a summary of pretty much all the major developments and updates from the past month on screen. I will go into a little more detail on the content shown from the devs in the video. So first, new things that have been unveiled since July. The biggest reveal is the new class, the Warlock. This class uses the caster's HP to summon different curses that can either damage opponents or help boost your own stats at the expense of HP. Given that it takes your own HP to cast, this class may be more of a support class that needs a team, but we'll just have to wait and see. So on screen is the breakdown of the 3 spells that have been shown so far: Curse of Pain, Curse of Weaken, and Power of Sacrifice. The Warlock is able to equip swords, such as the falchion or the longsword, and they are also able to use orbs or spellbooks to cast spells. The Warlock's base kit is occultist gear. Occultist pants and boots were shown. It was also shown that the Warlock is able to equip a Shadow Hood as well as the Warden outfit. It was also shown that potions and bandages do not heal the Warlock at all. Only curses on other players appear to provide healing to the Warlock via the Torture Mastery perk shown. The devs actually chimed in after a 1-peg video to give an update about the actual perk. The devs confirmed that it's a work in progress and may change, but the Torture Mastery restores HP from curse damage to enemies. Here's a summary on screen of all the info on the new Warlock class that was shown during the last month. Ironmace also unveiled a new skin, the Orc. It was showcased in 2 separate videos as both a fighter and a barbarian. You can see it here in slow motion what it looks like up close. We also got to see the avatar character on the bottom left here, seen as the fighter switching helmet. It's pretty cool because we're also able to identify the skin based on the Orc identifier here, same as the skeleton previously. No other information was given about the Orc, but most likely we're going to have a stat change of +1 strength and -1 agility if it's similar to previous skins in the game. With the +1 strength, it's really going to help those melee builds be even more vicious. Next, the new Inferno enemies that were unveiled in the last month. In the 3rd video that Ironmace released in July, it featured the Demon Berserker. We had a preview of one before in early July, but this is the first glimpse of a successful fight against these Demon Berserkers. They fit in great with the Inferno dungeon theme, and you can really tell that Ironmace has been hard at work, really improving their game, getting it polished, and getting it ready for release. And look at that Orc fighter, he's got the moves. Every time I watch this clip I get hyped. I'm just so ready for Dark and Darker again. A new monster shown in the Inferno dungeon is the new boss, the Skeleton King. Either it's a new boss or it's a Lich revamp. The footage shows the new boss summon up some sort of spirit to the sword that he has and then charges up. It powers up green, and then all of a sudden you see some of these other new monsters be summoned awake, and that's going to be the Skeleton Royal Guard. They've already taken out another team already, which you can see in the kill feed. In the video, once he turns around, you're able to see them walking towards player with knives in hand. Pretty ominous and pretty exciting to have new boss features to look forward to. A couple of days into August, the dev team dropped a video showing the new High Roller Goblin Caves. We're seeing goblins that are actually red now, and this is what was also showed off in the Orc video. This will be a nice change in dynamics, as my experience with the Goblin Cave is there's usually 1 or 2 juiced out players and everybody else is pretty new. Next we have new items that were unveiled. We saw new quest items such as a broken skull or an intact skull, as well as other random items that you might find in a dungeon such as moldy bread or even maggots. We also saw the introduction of musical instruments such as the lyre, the drum, and the flute. The lyre and the drum were shown with other classes being able to use them. Like with the drum, it shows you throw the item to cause player damage, so they're definitely hard at work in developing new features and functions on how to attack and interact in the dungeon. As seen earlier in the video, they have new emotes that have been introduced for the campfire. So we have people drinking a cup of coffee, smoking on their Gandalf pipe, or doing a little spit roast meal down in the dungeon. So just some new features to get more interactive and have more customability. So that covers all the new features that were introduced in the last month from Dark and Darker. You can see a summary of it on screen. Next, I'm going to go over some changes and updates they've showcased for the upcoming release. One of the biggest improvements that was shown is the quick item slot on screen for the HUD. They've updated it to show all of the items in your quick item slot on screen. That way you don't have to cycle through just kind of hoping you remember what's in there. Also, it now shows the quality of your weapon on hand so you can know what you have at a glance, whether it's a purple, blue, orange, or gray weapon. Other than the HUD improvement, we've seen a pretty big improvement in the graphics and the quality of the shading of everything. They've really been polishing this game up to make it look as good as possible, with noticeable improvements to the Inferno dungeon. A big update made is the removal of the weight stat. It's actually really exciting to see, as the weight was the one thing that worried me about the longevity of the game. You already have to play Tetris with the gear and the loot, so adding a weight element and potentially slowing down players was a really big concern. So everything really looks like it's moving in the right direction. And speaking of moving in the right direction, one of the most exciting things in the most recent videos is the return of the 3-man blue portal. No longer will you have that uncomfortable standoff with you and your buddy arguing about who has the most loot and who should get the last portal. So this covers the updates and recent changes that they've showcased in the last month for Darker and Darker. I'll leave a summary on screen of all the updates and changes. So what's next? What's the timeline for Dark and Darker moving forward? And when can we expect early access? So first, the lawsuit situation with Nexon and where we stand currently. Devs that are currently being sued have filed for a motion to dismiss. Currently, we are pending an update on that motion to dismiss in the US courts, which, if dismissed, would, from my understanding, allow the game back onto the Steam marketplace, most likely quickly. We're also having an upcoming date this month for an update on the possible injunction from the Korean courts, which will decide if Ironmace will still be allowed to continue development of Dark and Darker. I don't like to opine or speculate on legal issues, as there are just so many different variables and things that can happen. But hopefully the motion to dismiss is granted and we can get Dark and Darker back on Steam, and hopefully no injunctions are filed stopping the development. And that's the best case we can hope for, and so we just have to wait for an update. Regardless, Ironmace does appear to be gearing up for a release of some sort. The recent week reveals now it just got a PEGI rating from Europe, and there is also now speculation of a potential launcher based off the updated press kit logo that they just released on August 1st, which includes this blacksmith logo on a separate category other than Ironmace and other than Dark and Darker in the file. So if it doesn't get back on Steam, we could maybe see a Dark and Darker release on their own private launcher, which would be just amazing. The first playtest that they actually had was held on August 19th of last year, so it would be pretty fitting if we can get an August 19th early access release date. At this point, we're all just impatiently waiting for an update on the legal side of things, since that will be the biggest determining factor of what happens next. But it does seem to feel like there's something brewing, and it feels like we are getting closer to getting our hands back on Dark and Darker and getting back into the dungeon. The devs are releasing weekly videos, and the Madrina's coffee orders are all set to start shipping in the first couple weeks of August, all of you lucky guys who were able to get one. And this all points to a release being right around the corner. I think we will get an update this month on when to expect a Dark and Darker release. What do you guys think the timeline looks like? If you're not on the Dark and Darker Discord, you should definitely join to get up-to-date information on the status of development and release. Whether it's an update on the court case or just the product itself, we will have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, as it really does help the channel. And if you want to see more of my Dark and Darker content as it's released, feel free to click that subscribe button, and thank you for watching.